Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Olympian Table. I am James Lee, one of your co-hosts here. The Olympian is actually not here. Steven is out of town. We wanted to have a special guest on, but other circumstances kind of took us outside of that. I won't name any names of one of those Greek letters in the alphabet may have taken out our special guest, but we wish them well and healing. Hopefully they'll be okay. And of course, Stephen will be back with us next week. We always love to have Jacob here with us on the ones and the twos. Jacob, welcome. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. I'm all right.
Good. So you got me today. And really, I just kind of had some things that were on my mind that I wanted to talk about, and we're going to talk about them. And I just figured, you know what? The show must go on. We've got to keep it moving, whether it's just me or anyone else. I would expect them to do the same. So first things first, man. Bob Saget, man. We anyone that had any type of childhood in America, this guy from Full House, he was the father. Danny? Yeah, Danny on Full House.
He was on Full House. And it was also really funny because we were talking about comedians last week,
too. We were.
And then this happened.
We were. And funny enough, man, he died on the 9th. I think it was his last show. He did a show and he tweeted that he was loving being back in. He had done like a 2-hour set and didn't even realize that it had been 2 hours. So he's, this addiction to being back on stage, whatever, blah, 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 was invigorating, basically, kind of what he said, being back on tour. And here we are hours later, man, he passed. So they did say, I was hoping when I was talking to my wife that, of course, it doesn't look like any foul play. It doesn't look like any kind of, drugs or overdose or anything like that. He was 65 years young, and things happen. The body just, decides that it's time, and, it's time. But I will say he, of course, did Full House, America's Funniest Home Videos. That was on for years. He did that.
I forgot that he was one of the original people
yes,
for that. I completely forgot about that.
And it was on for a long time. And I know they're going to do some more, toxicology tests to just kind of find out the cause of his death. But, that takes like 3 months sometimes to even do that. So hopefully we'll find out what it is. But we'll want to give lift them up in prayer and their family, and wish all of them well, and all those that were in contact with him, all the casts that was on. I think they said John Stamos was saying he wasn't ready to say goodbye. He hadn't even accepted it yet. He was really kind of dealing with it. So
yeah, when stuff like that happens, sudden, it's
because they were on for a long time.
Yeah,
and I think they did the reboot of Fuller House.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that was, I think, a few years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago when he came back with that. So it's tough. Losing someone is definitely tough. Someone you work that closely with. But Bob Saget, he's a name that is synonymous with great TV dad, I would say. We had to put him up there with one of the better ones. And if you don't know what Full House is, maybe you're only 16 or 17. Who knows? But it was on for a long time. And I know during my childhood, we watched it. And I even watched a few of the Fuller House reboots with Candace Cameron and all the rest of those guys. So, Bob Saget, we appreciate what you brought to the world. And best wishes to your family and your legacy living on. So there you go. That's enough of the sad news. With that, we did lose a good one in there. So today I just kind of wanted to talk about some things that's been on my chest. And mainly it's more about the information, or shall I say misinformation, of the home buying process, real estate, credit, all encompassing the things that kind of go into it, and just kind of share some personal stories of my own on what I dealt with even coming up in this credit game. So when I moved here in the Houston Metroplex area in the late 90s, late 90s, I didn't have any money, really. You go to college and you get your credit all jacked up because you're applying for credit cards and student loans and all that jazz. So you're navigating a world that you've never done before and trying to kind of find your way. I can remember trying to find, because we stayed with my in-laws for a little while, long enough that we could still be friends today. But as my wife and I, we were out just kind of looking for a space to live in, apartments. And of course, rent was much cheaper back then, but you still had to have, decent credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I would say my credit was not decent.
Okay.
It was less than decent. Because I was reckless with some of it. You think, oh, I only got to make a $25 payment a month. I can do that. That's no big deal. That's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
No problem. Well, if you got a $25 payment on 4 different cards, that's $100 a month. And as the balance increases, it continues to go up. So the thinking of budgeting and handling it well
Yeah.
It was all out of whack.
Yeah, you really got to get the full picture in there. That's
You
where a lot
do.
of people go wrong with this stuff. Like,
Absolutely.
even stuff that I even go wrong with sometimes too. That's a big, easy mistake to make for sure.
And my wife, she was she was in a much better position than I was. She had a little bit more credit, but it wasn't great, because her parents too didn't really kind of walk her down that financial literacy path that we all should. So I can remember, man, going into this apartment complex, which we kind of stumbled upon together at the same place. And like in the neighborhood, it was gated and, every, nice little area. And man, we get in there and we apply. We had jobs, we were working, and we applied for this apartment. And I can remember, I don't know what the circumstances were when I stepped away, but whatever it was, my wife got a chance to look at the application. And on our application, where this lady had pulled our credit, she wrote yuck on the application.
Dang.
And man, that was painful.
Yeah, no, that doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good at all, man. Because when you have bad credit, man, it's a terrible feeling, of course. And sometimes you don't even want to look at it because you know that it's bad. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, it's like looking at your bank account knowing you don't have much in there, and you're just like, I don't even want to look.
I don't want to look because I know it's gonna be terrible. So seeing that, getting that yuck written on that application. Now, to this day, I don't know all the conversation that my wife had with this woman, but that is the reason why we got that apartment.
She did some magic there.
Yeah.
She tore that head off.
Oh yeah, she went in on that lady for writing the yuck. Because things were different back then. I mean, you didn't have I guess there were some rules and fair lending or renting laws in place, but man, it was kind of the wild, wild west out there. But I think that alone was what got us into this apartment. Now, it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. I want to say we probably paid $700 for it back at the time, so it wasn't terrible. No. Now that's probably going to cost you $1,800. In the area where
in the area you were.
Yes,
I was about to say we have the same thing. We have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Me and my girlfriend, and we got really lucky with it. To be honest,
really,
I think we probably got like a good steal on it because we only paid maybe I would say just under $1,300 for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's pretty nice. It has crown molding and everything. And I'll just
you did get a good deal.
Yeah, because they gave us the wrong price at first on the website from where we were looking at, and they had it a little bit higher actually. But we talked about the price on the website, like, oh, that's a mistake, but we'll give it to you anyway. Okay. Ever since you guys went in and applied for it, thinking it was that price, so we got a steal with it.
Hey, you did get a steal.
Yeah.
You might want to don't let that lease expire.
Oh no, we're sticking there until we move out for sure.
Yes, you gotta hang out in there, bro. For real, y'all lucked out on that one. But yeah, in this case, man, it's because I looked for the cost, and it's about, for a 2-bedroom, it's probably going to be anywhere between $1,700-$1,800. But
yeah,
nevertheless, man, we got that apartment, and as we got there, I would have to credit my wife with kind of putting us on the track with trying to get things paid off and getting the credit together, because it's important to pay your bills on time.
Oh, absolutely. That adds up onto your credit.
Man, it's so important. People don't realize how much of an impact that it'll have. It affects everything. I was talking to the handyman that came to fix my refrigerator the other day, and he was talking about his car insurance. How he was paying like $850 a month for
what? For car? How many DUIs does this guy have?
That's what I said. I was like, first of all, what are you driving? How many infractions have you had on your record? But it was just that his credit wasn't that great.
Oh.
So he didn't understand. He's like, well, so, why do you need my credit? Well, it's considered, well, I'm not asking for credit. I'm going to pay. But once they broke it down to him, which of course they run this clue report and all this stuff for insurance, and insurance is a bill. And you might be that kind of person where if you make a claim and you get the money, you might not go get the car fixed. You might keep the money. Or if you run off and hit somebody, you might not, continue to pay the bill, and then they're on the hook for it. So that's the idea behind it, because they didn't always pull credit for insurance. But
Okay,
nevertheless,
so it's more of a recent thing. Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
But nevertheless, they pull credit for just about anything you want to get now. So it's important to be informed of how you need to navigate the credit space, and when it comes to buying a home, especially.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of kind of topics that I'm going to read from a group that I'm in on Facebook, because it was started by a young lady and has over 300,000 members. And the information that's put on there is meant in a good spirit. But it's so many incorrect answers that are given, and the information that's put out there is incorrect because people are putting this information out there and they're not licensed to originate a loan. They're talking about loan origination steps. They're not licensed to do it. Maybe they've gone through the process, or they have a family member that's gone through the process, but they specifically are not the ones that are licensed to do it. But they're sharing what they think they know is the right thing. So it's important for us as individuals, collectively, if we know something, we need to share the information and make things right. So
exactly. With us being a franchise of Century 21, we know what we're talking about.
Yes.
So this is what we do on a daily basis. So we are.
Yes. So take this information. Take this information for just that. It's some of it. It's going to be, of course, my opinion. But I'll shoot you the facts as far as how you need to navigate this thing, and it's your choice to how you want to go through it, if you want to do it or not. But this first thing I was going to read, this is a post that was actually put up. This is what it says. Make it make sense, because my frustration level is almost having a conversation with the ancestors. I'm assuming that means she's really, really upset.
Oh, yes, I'm sure.
She's taking it back to great granny and grandpa. But anywho, I have the income for a house, but not the credit. I'll put my business on the book, meaning she'll let the Facebook know, what she has. She's in a 3-bedroom apartment right now. Now this happens to be out on the East Coast.
Okay.
She pays $1,505 in rent. The only thing that's included is water and trash. Everything else she pays. But I can't afford, quote, a house because my credit isn't mortgage ready. Talk to me, people. I look on the Experian app. My credit score shows 636. TransUnion shows 606. Equifax shows 591. Make it make sense. All I want is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, new construction. Am I tripping or just impatient? Talk to me nice and encouraging, please. Now, this post got close to 100 responses.
Okay.
And it was a mix of different people sharing their idea about what you should do, kind of what the issue is, looking at, hey, you need to look at your credit profile, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Now, she's out on the east, in southeast Georgia is where she is.
Okay.
I would say, just for my own personal knowledge, that the real estate prices are a little bit cheaper out there in Georgia than they are here in Texas. But just to kind of give an idea, 4-bedroom, 2-bath home here. Let's just look it up real quick here, Jacob.
Yeah, I'm gonna say probably around your average, probably around 300,000 or more. I would say around that.
And I would probably think you're right.
Yeah. Because I've been looking at houses every now and then myself.
All right, let's see. In Houston, there's a lot of listings in Houston, over 10,000 listings in here. So we're going to do 4 bedrooms, 2 baths in the city of Houston. Okay, so there's over 240 results. Now, first of all, here's one flaw with that question.
Okay.
She said, all I want is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, new construction, blah, blah, blah. Guess what the price of the first listing is for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home? Just the first one.
First one, I'm going to guess 360.
$29.5 million is what it is.
Wait, what? For a 4-bedroom, 2-bath?
So it's 5 bedrooms. It has this one is 5 bedroom, but it's on 4 acres. It's 1,700 square feet. It's one of those things. It's a very vague. It's almost kind of like saying, "Hey, how much does a 4-door car cost?" It's like, well,
where you buying from?
Where are you buying from? What kind of car is it?
Yeah.
What are the options you have in it? It's very, very vague. So she's kind of throwing out that whole victim Olympics kind of deal. Like, all I want is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. Yeah. So, okay, we get it, but what does that look like, though? I mean, we need some more.
Where are you trying to get it to on top of that? Which neighborhoods?
Exactly. So let's just say, to be realistic, let me drop it because we don't need the $29.5 million.
No,
But let's just drop it down to 350, it being the max, and see what our so it's still over 340 some odd options. But just to give you some ideas, there are homes in the 350 range for that. Now, she's paying $1,500 for her current rent payment. Just on a regular mortgage, $350. Let's just say she's putting down 5%, just the minimum. On today's rates, where they are, let's just say she doesn't have great credit, but even at really, really good credit, her principal and interest payment alone, just principal and interest on a $350,000 home with 5% down at a 3.5% interest rate, which is a really good credit, is $1,493.
Oh, okay.
That's just principal and an interest.
Yeah.
Now on 350, she's probably easily going to pay anywhere between $8,000 to $12,000 in property taxes.
Yeah.
So that can be anywhere from another $700 to $1,000 just in property taxes to go on top of this.
Yeah.
Right? Then of course you have insurance. That could be another $150. So we're easily, for a $350,000 home, looking at about $2,600 easy for her, which is over $1,000 more than what she's paying.
Yeah.
Her issue is in credit. I don't know who told her that it was credit, or if they led her to believe that it was credit. But she's here misinformed about what her scenario is, that it's credit. Her credit scores aren't great, but they're still workable.
Yeah.
She could still get an FHA loan, put 3.5% down, and still work down the path of home ownership. But she's believing that she can't do anything because someone has told her that she's not credit worthy. I honestly believe that this is a debt to income ratio problem.
Okay. There's a little bit more to this than meets the eye.
Definitely more to it. I don't know this young lady. I haven't even offered my my thoughts about what she could do or anything, but I'm going to make a comment about it just to give her some kind of guidance, just to say, hey, listen, it doesn't sound like a credit issue. Sounds like you have more debts than what you feel like are being accounted for. Now, with that being said, when you are applying rent, it's a part of the overall picture, but typically rent doesn't report to your credit.
No. Yeah.
But if you have a car loan, if you have student loans, if you have medical collections or any other kinds of collections, those can all be factors that can keep you from qualifying for a mortgage.
Exactly.
So where she's thinking, I'm paying $1,500, I should be able to get this house. When you peel it all back and we include everything that might be on your credit report, not really. You can't do it. Not at $1,500, even though that payment fits in your mind where you think should afford.
But that's just one small part of the big picture.
One small, and that's the thing. You get pieces of information where it on a post like that, and again, it's a group of 300,000 plus people. Yeah. So everyone sees this, and then I tell you, it's like an old game of telephone. We start on one end with how it's, hey, Jacob has on a red shirt. And by the time we gets to the end of the line, Jacob has on a blue dress. Yeah. And it's ridiculous because That happens, and no one corrects it. No one says, you know what? That's not right. That's not what it is. It should be something different. So we've got to do better in that space. I put a picture in the Discord. I don't know if you can see that.
Okay, yeah, I'll double check.
It's more surrounding monies, because the next area that I wanted to talk about is about assets. Okay. And I can tell you, actually, I can't tell you how many times I have received applications for, will it let it make it bigger?
Yeah.
Hopefully so. I can't tell you how many times I've received bank statements for people, and there's no money. When I say no money in the bank, Jacob, I mean no money. And you have to have money to buy a house. Many people feel that, oh, because their friend got in this house and they didn't have to pay much money out of pocket, that's what's going to happen with them. Oh, that's great. It happens. I have 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got a lady at the closing table. She brought $297 to closing.
Oh,
that's it.
Wow.
$297. But it was structured in a way to where she could do that because she got down payment assistance. The seller was going to pay for some of her closing costs.
Oh, so
so by the time we layered everything in, she didn't really have much that she had to pay at close. And that happens, and it can happen for sure.
Yeah.
If you qualify for those programs.
Exactly.
Not everyone will qualify for those programs.
No, yeah, my brother, he didn't. He was a first-time home buyer. He just bought right around the Christmas time, and he had that thing happen to him where he's just like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize how much buying a house was because all the closing costs and everything associated with it. He had to pay thousands of dollars, and he's like, I wasn't expecting to pay this much. Yeah,
wasn't expecting it. So here's the thing. When you buy a home, you start, you get pre-qualified. There's 4 different components of monies that you have to deal with. The first 2 are, you got earnest money, and then you have an option fee. Those are due within 3 days of the contract being executed.
Okay.
You've got to get that money to the title company, because that is basically guaranteeing the seller in earnest that you're going to buy their house.
Yeah, that's like
that's the good faith. Yeah. Hey, we're going to take it off the market because you said you want to buy it. So, it's not open to anybody else to try to get it. So that kind of pulls the dogs off from trying to get that property. So that money is set there in good faith. That's typically 1% of the price. So on $350, that's $3,500.
Yep.
Right off the top, $3,500 you got to pay. Option can vary anywhere. I've seen it as low as $50. I've seen it as high as $1,000. So it just kind of depends.
But yeah, you should be prepared to pay that.
Exactly. Now the cool thing about it is, although you're paying that up front, it's credited at the end for you. So it's not like you lose that money. As long as you close, that money's credited, so you'll see where it goes towards your closing. Right. So those 2 components are in the very beginning. Secondly, you have your down payment. So that can vary anywhere from 3% to however much you want to put down. Right. And then the last piece of it, of course, is your closing costs. Closing costs is a blanket term for everything that is associated with the mortgage.
Yeah.
Lender fees, third-party fees like title insurance, appraisal, survey, those kinds of things. Excuse me. And then also you have your prepaids, which is the setup of your escrows, which is taxes and insurance.
Yeah.
All of those go in, and when you see that closing cost number, that's a part of that number.
Gotcha.
So many times people will look at this and they're like, oh, wait a minute. Well, 3%, the house is $200,000. That's only $6,000. Yeah, for the down payment.
Yeah, just for that.
Yeah, that's just the down payment. But you still have closing costs. You still have prepaids. You still have your earnest and all that kind of jazz. So this picture that I found, it was in this group. They put it out there, kind of a rule of thumb. Now, this is not the gospel. but it gives an idea that, hey, this is what you can be looking at having to pay for when buying a house. So upfront, these things. So the inspection, of course, we don't require it, but we do recommend getting an inspection.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you that don't know, an inspection, real quick, is really just a picture by an uninterested third party to say, hey, yep, this house is in working order, or, man, this is what's wrong, this was wrong. Now, they'll give you a detailed report of everything in the house, what needs to be done, or if it's up to code, or whether codes change all the time, so there's nothing to really be too alarmed about, but it'll tell you, hey, you got a leak in the plumbing, or the AC is on its last leg, or the roof is deteriorated, or the foundation has a slope in it. Anything along those lines, the inspection report can uncover for you. Mm-hmm. But you pay for that out of pocket, up front.
Yeah.
Appraisal, you pay for out of pocket, up front.
Yep.
As I mentioned, down payment, 3%. That's the minimum. And it can be more than 5% if you wanted to, but at minimum, 3% is what you're going to be putting down. And then you've got your closing costs, which could be another 2 to 4%, depending on where it is. It could be even higher. So I usually say 2 to 5 for people. Okay. And then that bottom scale, it just kind of lets you know. So on a $300,000 house, even though 3% of the 300 is only $9,000, when you add everything else in, you're gonna need about 15.
It's what you're expected to pay.
You're gonna need about 15 grand on that, and 500,000, 25. Now, if these places are in Texas, I would probably add another 2,000 to 3,000 to these at minimum, because our property taxes are pretty high. We probably have some of the highest property taxes in the union. Quite frankly, in Texas, we do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, we have that. Yeah, I knew that, especially in the Houston area, especially. Yeah, because especially in certain areas, I know specifically in Katy and like those nice suburb areas, they pay the highest that's allowed in the state of Texas constantly for property taxes, because my parents always complain about it all the time.
Absolutely. Like in my neighborhood, we pay 3.6. And for property taxes, so it's high. We tell people when they come from different states, hey, listen, property taxes are expensive here. It's just, it is what it is. But that's what we pay. But so for that scale, this is just a rule of thumb, something to just kind of look at. If you're in Texas, I would throw on a few extra thousand because of the property taxes. But just looking at it, just knowing it's not just going to be the down payment. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the stark reality that people run into when it comes to qualifying for some of these mortgages. Yeah. Excuse me. Now, the asset piece of it, it's important to know that you have money for a house. As I mentioned, the lady coming with only $297. That's cool, but we don't want to count. We don't want to bank on that. Yeah. But it's also important to know that there's ways you can actually get monies. Yeah. You can get a gift from a family member if they love you enough to give you money for your down payment. It can absolutely help you get into a home.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's like what I've seen to like many weddings. That's what people do, is they just ask for money so we can buy our first home. Yeah.
Yes. I think that's an excellent idea. I mean, people spend a ton of money, and I'm not against weddings. We eloped, so I'm kind of biased.
Okay.
We spent our money on the honeymoon.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's where our money went. But I think people many times spend so much money on the wedding. It's like, and you know what? You could just have like a reception, and all this money that can be for your house. And we tell people that. Yeah. But you can get a gift. You can get down payment assistance. Yeah. Where you can actually have a program that can cover, and the income limits have increased so much. They're just at almost $100,000. If you make less than, I think 99.2. Okay. You can get into one of these programs.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yes, there's programs out there that you can actually get down payment assistance, and it's available. Now, it's not free money. Please look at the words that are coming out of my mouth. It's not free. There's a cost for everything. There's rates associated with this money. There's fees associated with this money. You have to take classes to get this money, but it is available. It's available. And many times what you end up having to pay, and what you get, the output is well worth it. You know, if you think about getting, you know, if it costs you $100 for a class, and let's say your interest rate's going to be, I don't know, a half a point higher than what you would normally get, but they're going to give you $16,000. You might say, hey, you know what? I can deal with that. Yeah. Because many times folks, their first mortgage, you're not going to have it for 30 years anyway. So that half a point of interest, although it's going to be a little bit higher, it won't be so much higher that it'll end up being not worth it. Right. In the deal. So it's just something to think about. It's definitely something to think about. And I think it's important that you speak to a lender that's familiar with it. And don't be afraid to ask the questions. Now, you got to trust them. You got to get into a position to where you can actually trust who you're speaking with and not listen to Uncle Leroy or Uncle John or Aunt Pam or whoever, because they're not the licensed individuals, people. Talk to a licensed individual in this industry, or if they work for a bank, you know, you don't have to be licensed, but someone that's doing this for a living.
A professional in this industry.
A professional. Absolutely. Even when it comes to you know, your realtor, your aunt or your dad or your mom, they may have bought and sold a house years ago, but these real estate agents, they take continuing education classes every few years to stay up to speed on the market and what's going on.
Yeah,
so why not trust them?
Yeah, I was about to say, is like, it depends from market to market. It could be a seller's market one and then a buyer's market. You need to be prepared to know what you're getting into for whatever time you're buying. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yes. I don't know. It's just it's one of those things that it's easy to trust the family member. Yeah. But sometimes this is going to sting a little bit. Your family really doesn't want you to buy a house. They don't want to see you in a better position. I know that sounds terrible, but sometimes that's the honest to God's truth. So they'll try to talk you out of it from doing it because, hey, maybe they wish it was them. And you know, it may not feel that way, but you need to be smart enough. We research everything else. And we go into it and, you know, with a mindset that, hey, I need to make a decision and trust a professional. Typically, no one questions a doctor.
No, not really, yeah. These days, it may be a little bit, but...
you find a doctor that takes your insurance. Yeah. Man, you know what? You look up a few reviews, boom, you go in there. He tell you to, you know, get naked, bend over, grab your ankles, or whatever you got to do. You just do it.
Okay, doc.
All right, doc. Pay him his $40 copay and you get on out of there and you're going to like it. For some reason, someone just told him, I think I need to shop lenders. I need to do this. Build rapport with someone that you trust. And once you find somebody you trust, go with them. And even your real estate agents, they typically work with someone that they trust. Mm-hmm. So it's important to kind of have your team kind of gelled together to where you can actually speak to, because if it was someone that I knew, I say, hey, Jake, I need somebody that can do, I don't know, XYZ in video or audio something. Yeah. Who do you know?
Oh, I know tons of people.
I will take your word for it. It's like, you know what? Hey, you know a lot of people? Man, all right. Hey, you came highly recommended. Jacob said you were good. Let's take care of business. That's the kind of thing that we need to kind of get in this space. Absolutely, yeah. And we end up missing. All right. Here's a post that was very kind of telling on where we are now. This says, I want to give up on buying a house. The market is so high and prices are ridiculous. I want to buy a house because I pay so much in rent. I'm so over it. Any advice or suggestions? I know it's a process, but I'm stressed out. Oh, poor baby. She waited too long, y'all. She waited. This was 12 hours ago that she posted this. Now, I say don't give up. Don't give up. Prices are high. that's all relative.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're paying rent, you're never going to be in a position to where you would be if you were paying on a mortgage.
Yeah, because you're not putting that money towards something.
You're not putting it towards something. You're paying somebody else's mortgage, right? The apartment complex. And I'm not knocking it because some people, that's the ideal situation for them. Hey, man, I'm paying my rent. This is what I got to do. I don't have to worry about anything else. Cool. Some people love it. But for it to be the best investment of your money, I don't like when people say that it's a waste of money, because I wouldn't say it's a waste of money, because you have somewhere to stay.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
it's
not
a home.
wasting money. It's as much as a waste of money as it would be you wasting money to stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
So that's my thing, is like, it's not a waste of money, I would say. It's just not the best use of your money, because you could be putting it towards a mortgage.
Yeah.
And if you put it towards a mortgage, you build equity. It's kind of one of those things where you almost can't lose.
Yeah.
You can't lose on it, because it's one thing, you have the money that you're paying towards your mortgage, which is paying down your balance. And then you have appreciation in the market where the property value is going up. So you're building that equity each month as you're paying on the mortgage. So it's kind of one of those, it's like a big savings account for you, honestly.
Yeah.
That you're not taxed on until you pull it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nevertheless, man, it's kind of one of those things where you hear this kind of post, or you read this kind of post, and it seems discouraging, but I say continue to move forward with it. If you're in line and you're on the ladder already, keep your credit good, continue to save, continue to budget, and work with someone that'll kind of keep you engaged. Someone that can, kind of call and check in on you, make sure you're still, how the home search is going, making sure you're not getting discouraged. I think it's important that you do that. Couple other posts as I was reading through this. Does it matter if you are full-time or part-time with your job when you buy a house? What would you think?
Ideally, I think it's better to have a full-time job and more steady income. But yeah.
Man, that seems like a no-brainer to me. Seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
But there are rules where you can use some part-time income.
Really?
There are.
Oh, I'm learning all sides of things
There
today.
you go, man. There are some rules. Now, the caveat in the part-time income typically falls in that there's a pattern of you having part-time income. So say, for instance, you worked a full-time job, but you also delivered pizza on the side.
Okay.
If you've been doing that, we can show that you've been doing that for the past few years, we can use that income.
Okay.
That rule came in because before this whole credit crunch, 2007, 2008, and out in that area, people were just going to qualify for a mortgage. They just go get a second job. Oh yeah, I'm gonna just go get a second job, turn in a couple paycheck stubs. Now my ratios are down. Boom, I qualify. And then once the mortgage closes, they quit that job.
Huh. I didn't know that was a thing.
That was a thing. Now I know you were only 2 back then, but
I am quite young.
but that was a thing. A lot of the rules that are in place now are because people were trying to work the system back then. So the part-time thing, we used to do it, but because of that reason, when you go back and you look across a line of loans that default, you say, what's the common denominator in why these loans defaulted? And when you look at them, it's like, well, they all had a part-time job at application, and looks like they defaulted on it afterwards, but they had only had this part-time job for a month or 2 months, or whatever the case is. So you start putting in those guidelines that will require them to have that job for a certain amount of time to establish that there's a common history of having a part-time work. So that's the reason why it exists.
I did not know that. Oh.
That's the reason why it exists, man. There's a lot of things that we deal with now because people are they figure out ways to try to work the system. And we were kind of the fall guys in a lot of that stuff. We as in mortgage people, and I'll tell you, we've mentioned it several times on this show. If you have not seen The Big Short, you need to go and watch The Big Short. I think it's on Netflix or Amazon or whatever, but it talks about during that time what was going on during this credit crunch and the implosion of our economy at that time. But it's a very good movie. I really enjoyed it. But nevertheless, there's a lot of little gates that people were going through to try to get these loans done, man. And that's why now, the penalties are severe, and the mortgage fraud they don't play. They don't mess around.
Yeah, because they don't want that to ever happen again. Yeah.
Don't want it to happen again. And I get it. I respect it. It is what it is. I was looking, there was one specific post that I had on here. They were complaining about providing documentation. I can't find it, but I'm going to say this. If your mortgage professional asks you for documentation, we're not trying to make your life hard. We're not. We have to convince an individual who will never have the luxury of ever having a conversation with you or seeing you, talk to you on the phone or see you on Facebook or anything, that you deserve to have a loan for $250,000 by giving them the documentation to show that you can afford it and telling the story as to why we believe you can get this loan. So when we ask for documentation, that's really all it is. It's just ammunition to say, hey, you know what? Jacob's been on this job for over 2 years. He's got decent credit. He's been able to save more than enough for the down payment and will have 6 to 7 months reserves afterwards. He's a first-time home buyer, but he's truly established a way to save money and budget to put him in a position to where he can actually buy this home. These are the reasons why I believe that he can get this mortgage. Now, many folks don't even know that we put together a story in our loan packages like that. And we do. Now, that was just a sample of what we are, but we literally have to tell the story when we're submitting these.
It's almost like it's like a courtroom and you're like a defense lawyer or something, building a case.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And sometimes we're doing it for someone that has a 690 credit score, but sometimes we're doing it for someone that has a 590 credit score, who isn't so credit worthy, so to speak, although they fit into the guidelines.
Okay.
So that's a space that we live in. And I don't think people, they don't understand that how much work is done behind the scenes as a loan originator for us to try to get these loans through. And those of us that do our jobs well, that's what we do. We let the underwriter know as much details as we can as to, why we feel like this loan deserves approval.
Yeah.
We do a good job up front with gathering documentation and, running credit and, giving the pre-qualification letter to say, hey, yeah, you qualify. But we still have to get it to the underwriter and help them to understand why we believe that you deserve this loan.
Yeah.
So it's a task, man. And we find out ways to do it. So don't give any pushback from your loan professional if they ask for another pay stub or they need a better copy of your photo ID that you took with your iPhone from 6 feet away with the lights off. And you'd be amazed some of the documentation that I get. It's just like
playing I Spy for some of the stuff.
Did y'all even look at what you were sending me? I mean, it's almost like some people just don't even care.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's okay.
It's better to think of building a case for you, and they're trying to help you out as best as possible to make sure that you get this loan. So that's the way you should really go in and think
that's the way you
about
should go in and do it, because quite frankly, that's when the work starts. Yeah, it's cool. You got your real estate agent, and this is no knock on realtors, but quite frankly, to buy a house does not require a realtor. But most of the time,
you would want one. Yeah,
you would want one.
Yeah.
You want a realtor that's acting on your behalf. But one thing that you got to have is money.
Yeah.
So you got to have a loan. Definitely. So once you find a good realtor you can work with and you trust them and they're doing a good job for you, you want to make sure that once it passes off and you get that contract working, pass that thing off to the loan officer and let them do their work, do their magic, and treat them like the doctor. They say, hey, lift your hands and cough. Guess what? Lift those hands and cough. Do what you got to do. So, I try not to put my people through too much of a hassle, which is why I ask for a lot of things up front. Most of the things that I think we'll come in contact with, I ask for more things at the pre-qualification stage than most loan officers do. And I do that because I don't want to have to go back later and ask for it. If I ask you for it one time all up front, they don't want me that big a deal. Even if I don't need it. I say, hey, Jacob, give me your birth certificate. I need your high school diploma. Give me a transcript from college. Give me this, that. And you get it all to me. And let's say I don't need it. You're none the wiser. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
But if I do need it, or if it got to a point to where I needed it and I didn't ask you for it, you say, hey, well, why didn't you didn't ask me that up front? If we knew we needed that, you could have just asked me. I had it available. Now we've got it all packed up in the boxes because we thought we were ready to move for closing. And now I got to go dig in my storage. You get where I'm going?
Yeah, it makes it a lot harder and a lot more necessary.
Absolutely. So it's just a matter of asking for that information up front. So respect your loan professional. Do what they ask you to do within reason, of course. None of them should be asking to do anything too crazy. But it definitely it does happen.